Aggies of Texas A&M, but barely. What a ball game.
What an outstanding game.
Two well-coached teams who put a lot of offense together today. And in the end, it was the Heisman Trophy winner from a year ago who proved that he still had the medal. Jason White's 5 touchdown passes is what led Oklahoma to the win. But there's the possibility. It was tipped twice and very nearly a touchdown. So last year there were 77 points in this game, but they were all Oklahoma's. This year there's 77 points scored, and it was split almost down the middle as the quarterback looks on to what could have been. Lynn Swans with Bob Stoops.
Well, Coach Stoops, I don't know how the game went last week at the end of Oklahoma State, how you felt. But I'm exhausted watching this ball game.
Well, we're very fortunate. I'm going to steal a phrase from a buddy of mine. The good Lord was smiling on the Sooners today. We were really lucky. And just out-coached. I did an awful job at the end, even with clock management. And, you know, but, hey, we're fortunate enough to win. We got lucky, and we made enough plays to win here in a tough environment, giving up as much as we did. Or give A&M credit. They really played a great game, and Coach Franchione and his staff really did a great job.
Coach, they did a great job, but when I talked to you at halftime, you talked about adjusting, coming back. You're only 7 points behind. You found a lot of resolve in Adrian Peterson after being hurt. Cody came back in this ballgame.
That's right. You know, we couldn't play much worse defensively in the first half, and through it all, we end up, as you said, the positive side of that in the locker room was, hey, we're only down 7 points away from home. We can build on that, and then we took the lead back, and, you know, they made some excellent plays, and, you know, some of the fakes, we were in safe situations, safe formations looking for them, but they executed them. We didn't defend them very well.
Well, Coach, this is more than a bump in the road, but you survived it. You're still undefeated, and the dreams are still ahead.
Yeah, we were really lucky today, Lynn. Thank you.
Thank you. Brett?
Bob Stoops, very honest evaluation of this ball game. Our Chevrolet players of the game in this one. Jason White, 5 touchdowns for the second year in a row against the Aggies. Jackson Appel seemed to be all over the field from his safety spot for Texas A&M. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund. Wow, that's about all you can say after one like this. Oklahoma is number 2, but they finished things off when they had to. And they win it 42-35 in a very, very tough spot. ABC Sports is online at ESPN.com. Search ABC Sports. For Bob Greasy and Lynn Swan, Brad Nessler saying so long from College Station, Texas. Again, our final score. Number 2 OU 42, Texas A&M 35. Now let's join John Saunders, Craig James, and Aaron Taylor in our New York studio. Fellas.
Brad, thanks a lot. And Bob Stoops is going to carry some good things out of this game. We'll get to that in just a moment. Would you be concerned when you look at your team and know your defense, number 2 team in the nation, has given up 70 points the last 2 weeks?
No, I think what you have to realize is the fact that everybody's got that bullseye on your chest. And if you don't come out and play 60 minutes every game against them, then you've got a chance to lose. And Oklahoma came through today. Why did they come through today? They came through today because of a guy named Jason White. I know you've been talking Peterson, my man. He's a good player. But Jason White pulled him out of the fire today.
He did, but their defense, I would be concerned, John, because anytime your defense is giving up 70 points over 2 games, it means that you have to go out, and Jason White has to produce. He has to go out there. You saw what happened today. Adrian Peterson, he got contained, so the onus was on Jason White. Thank God he's good enough for him to get the job done, but you don't want to have to score 36 points to win.
We're going to read the paper in the morning. You know what it's going to say? Oklahoma Sooners still undefeated.
That's right. Peterson gets his 100 yards again.
Yeah,
he doesn't come up short on that, although he was injured.
He's a good player.
You're concerned about the shoulder, but Jason White with the 5 touchdown passes, I will give it to you. He might be the leader in the clubhouse right now. Let's look elsewhere.
The final whistle is blown in College Station, but our coverage is just beginning. Sports Extra breaks down the plays and the players in today's contest. Hear what the Sooners coaches have to say about the encounter with the Aggies. Don't miss a minute of Sports Extra's post-game show. Now, live from Kyle Field, here's Mark Rogers and Chris Callahan.
Thank you very much. What a game here today at Kyle Field. The Texas A&M Aggies' final bid against Oklahoma falls short. The final seconds tick off the clock, and the Oklahoma Sooners are 9-0, and their road to the national championship continues. Today they win 42-35 over Texas A&M in another thriller. Chris, what a great contest today.
It's never easy here for Oklahoma, is it, Mark? In 2000, we talked about it all week long. They had trouble but got out of here with a win. 2002, Texas A&M pulls the upset, and today was just another classic battle between these two.
And both teams lose some of their big guns in this contest. Reggie McNeil goes down with a shoulder injury, but coming off the bench, Ty Brannion, who you know a little bit about, an Austin, Texas native, comes off the bench and really plays pretty well for A&M.
Yeah, Mark, this kid was a walk-on. Actually, last year was just awarded a scholarship this year, and to step in such a big-time game, you know, you got to give props to this kid. He came in and played very well for Texas A&M.
Well, and Oklahoma loses Adrian Peterson in the contest, a shoulder that popped out, dislocated for a second. He went into the locker room and looked like he was in a lot of pain, but Peterson sprinted out of the locker room and back onto the field, got one carry, and he does fall short of a 9th consecutive game of 100 yards. My unofficial statistics have Peterson with 95 yards today. He had 67 at halftime on 18 carries and did not reach that 100-yard mark for the 9th consecutive week. But another pretty solid day for Adrian Peterson. The story for Oklahoma, though, quarterback Jason White, a big-time afternoon. That's why, Chris, this Oklahoma team is so dangerous. They have senior leadership on offense at virtually every position, and Jason White today came through in the clutch and threw 5 touchdowns.
Well, Mark, if this doesn't put him back as a front runner for the Heisman, I don't know what will. His team was down. They weren't playing very well. They got off to a slow start against against a good team in a rowdy atmosphere, and he comes out, throws 5 touchdown passes. Absolutely a fantastic performance from Jason White. He should be #1 on the Heisman polls right now.
Well, with I think that puts him at 16 touchdowns and 1 interception in his last 4 games, so that's quite a run for Oklahoma's quarterback, Jason White. Now, some other very big news today coming out of the Oklahoma sidelines. The Sooners defense was shredded in the first half, but Oklahoma made adjustments in the second quarter and got things turned around. And the big news is that freshman cornerback Marcus Walker, a true freshman from Waco, who's impressed coaches ever since he arrived at campus this summer, was pulled out of redshirt. He replaced Eric Bassey at cornerback and really did a great job solidifying the defense. At one point in the third quarter, A&M ran 12 straight plays without making a yard. Now then, Oklahoma got a big personal foul penalty on Lynn Magruder, and the Aggies were able to get a touchdown that tied it up in that contest. But if you look at it, Chris, Oklahoma gave up big plays again in the first half, but they were able to really kind of get the game calmed down. They gave up 2 touchdowns on special teams today, but when you look at the score and you see that Oklahoma gave up 35 points, it really doesn't tell the story of how well the defense played at times in the second half.
Well, I think the key, Mark, what really turned this ball game around was the 3 turnovers in 3 minutes for Texas A&M in the second half. They fumble the kickoff, then they come up with the interception, then the other fumble, and that really turned the tide in the favor of Oklahoma today, and they did a good job of playing off that and taking it to a victory.
All right, we have got plenty more to come here in the show. We're going to be joined by Pasha Jackson a little bit later on, the linebacker off last year's team. We will have our game ball giveaway. We invite you to log on to channeloklahoma.com and tell us who you think should receive our game ball. And Chris, let's start it off with Jason White. And perhaps no Sooner player deserves more credit today than Jason White.
Well, you expect this out of your senior leader, a Heisman quarterback. We know what kind of talent he is. And he went out and just had, quite simply, the best game he's had all year long.
5 touchdown passes on the afternoon. At halftime, he was 11 of 21 for 222 yards. And then the Sooners came out of half, hit that big play, recovered the kickoff that Tony Cade got at the 11-yard line for A&M. Then Jason White hit Mark Bradley on the ensuing touchdown. Now, also, Mark Clayton, our second nominee for a game ball. Chris, Mark Clayton just refuses to go down. He took a lot of punishment today. Clayton went over the 200 catch mark and the 3,000-yard mark for a career in an Oklahoma Sooner uniform, and it's got to be, up there now. He is with the greats, the all-time greats in Oklahoma Sooner wide receiving history.
He's got a great case of make me miss. Guys can't get their hands on him, and they certainly can't bring him down when they try to arm tackle him. The guy is fantastic, got great feet and super moves. Great after he catches the ball.
Clayton had a big catch there in the first half, a big catch for a long gain for the Sooners, 5 for 99 just in the first half. Now, our third nominee, and how can you go without nominating this guy about every week? Adrian Peterson, number 28, the true freshman. His streak of a consecutive 100-yard games is broken today at 95 yards, but Peterson took a lot of punishment, carried the ball well all day.
Something we talked about last week, Mark, the pounding, the beating that he can put on the defenses. He did that again today, even though he had some losses today when he ran the ball. He overall was the workhorse again for this Sooner football team, and is very important and open up the passing game for Jason White and the Sooners as well.
And I may have some egg on my face. Unofficial statistics right now show Adrian Peterson with 103 yards, so we'll get it worked out. We'll get a final statistical box here for you in a second. Log on to channeloklahoma.com and cast your vote. Tell us who you think should receive our game ball for his performance today. It's Adrian Peterson, Jason White, or Mark Clayton. I also thought that Lance Mitchell played a pretty good game today on defense, and Reggie McNeil going out of the contest really changed the dynamic of this game. He had a heck of a first half, Chris, but he was not the same quarterback in the second half.
No, I agree. And somebody that also deserves some credit on this Oklahoma defense is Dan Cody. He played very well, was putting pressure on Reggie McNeil, and also Ty Brandon when he came in. Dan Cody did a super job and did a great job rushing the quarterback today. Now, Mark Clayton, we've talked about him. We caught up with him after the game to see what he had to say about today's game.
I know what college football all about, man. We knew coming in. Coming in, what kind of fight we was going to have. We just had to stick it out. That's a great team right there. You know, Reggie running around, receivers catching balls, their defense playing hard. They always do. It's a great game, as you see.
All right, we have plenty more to come here in the show. Brent Venables will join us live on set. We'll also have much more reaction from the field, from the Oklahoma Sooners players. And we, again, invite you to log on to channeloklahoma.com to vote for our game ball giveaway. We'll also take a look at some of the key matchups in today's contest. We got plenty more show to come here from College Station. The Sooners are happy after a 42-35 win over the Aggies. Keep it here on your home for college football. Welcome back. A look at Kyle Field here, where the Oklahoma Sooners have prevailed over the Texas A&M Aggies. 42-35 is the final, and the Sooners had all they wanted today from Texas A&M, even though the Aggies played last week for the battle on the Brazos. 35-34, they lose to Baylor, but this is a good football team. They came in 6-2, and they played well today, especially in the first half. We're going to take a look at some of the key matchups in today's contest, and one of those key matchups is the deep passing game. Oklahoma's defensive backs against the Texas A&M wide receivers. And the A&M quarterback and receiver play was outstanding in the first half. Terrence Murphy with an 18-yard touchdown pass from Reggie McNeil put the Aggies on top 7-0, and then it continued from there. McNeil, again, was just outstanding. 8 of 15 in the first half, 159 yards. A&M, Chris, averaged over 10 yards a play in the first half, but that Sooner defense really got tough on A&M in the third and the fourth quarter. But here early on, the Oklahoma safeties were not good, and Eric Bassey was benched for Marcus Walker. He leaves the contest after the Aggies come up with a 45-yard touchdown pass from Reggie McNeil to Chad Schroeder. And since then, you know, Walker came in and played very, very well at that other cornerback, and they did not give up any more home run balls today.
Well, it really changed the flow of the game. Marcus Walker, I saw the kid play in high school. He had one pass completed on him his senior year of high school, and that's just an amazing stat. That's the kind of shutdown corner he was in high school. They feel like he can also be that same sort of cornerback here at Oklahoma, and he showed it, at least in his debut. He looked pretty good.
And I can tell you, he wanted to play. It's not a thing where, oh, you know, I've set out now 8 games and I'm worried about burning a red shirt. And I think Bob Stoops made a very gutsy decision today when he pulled Marcus Walker out of red shirt. You're going to play for a national championship. There's going to be some big contests coming up down the road, and yeah, you've kept him on the bench, but much like they did with Quentin Griffin in 1999, he sits for most of the year and comes out, and I think that Oklahoma, that pass defense was so porous in the first half, they're going to need number 24 if they're going to win some big games later on this season. So got to give Bob Stoops some credit for making that call.
If Oklahoma wins the national championship, Mark, and then this is going to look like a move of genius, bringing Marcus Walker out of red shirt. Another look of genius by this coaching staff was bringing Adrian Peterson into Oklahoma. This guy has been flat out great every game, and he was good again today.
Adrian Peterson was solid, 18 carries in the first half. As we said, we're still going to work on getting some final statistics for you to see if he continued that 100-yard streak. It was right there on the cusp of the 100-yard mark, but so big, so physical, pounded away at that A&M defensive front. And, you know, the Sooners were bound and determined to run the football today in the face of 8-man fronts all afternoon. tough alignments from the Aggies.
Well, give Texas A&M some credit. They did a great job, especially up front. They were keen on Adrian Peterson. You know that was in their game plan coming in. They wanted to force Jason White to beat them, and they did overall a pretty fair job, especially their defensive tackles. They have very good speed, and we're getting a pretty good push most of the day against AD. Now, I caught up with Travis Wilson after the game, one of those talented receivers. This is what he had to say about today's contest.
We knew it was going to be a shootout from when we came in here. We knew they remembered last year's game in the back of their mind, and they were going to give us their best effort. And we knew we just had to come in prepared and block out the crowd and do our best.
How about Jason White? He did it again, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, Jason, he just the fine example. He's been in the big games before. He knows how to relax and run the offense.
Travis, thanks a lot. Congratulations.
What a game for Travis Wilson. Again, he had a pass interference called on him in the end zone, but he came up with some big catches in the contest. Now, again, we want to let you know we have Brent Venables coming over to join us on set momentarily. We'll also hear from Bob Stoops in the Oklahoma locker room. Plenty more reaction from the field here from Oklahoma players. Some other games going on right now in the Big 12. Oklahoma State and Texas are tied up at 7. And, Chris, the craziness continues in the Big 12 North. Iowa State wins over Nebraska today. Kansas State goes to Missouri and wins, and that leaves Iowa State even more firmly in control of their own destiny when it comes to playing for the Big 12 championship game in Kansas City coming up a little bit later on this year.
You won't say that very often. How many times is Iowa State going to be firmly in position to win their division?
That was a 1,000-to-1 shot in Las Vegas, I can guarantee it. They've got 2 games left. They've got Kansas State left, that game on the road, and they welcome Missouri to Ames. So a 4-4 record. We might have a tiebreaker and might have to get out some straws to see who's got the short one, but this is going to be crazy how they decide things in the North. We also had a chance, or you did, to catch up with Brandon Jones a little bit after the contest, the Sooners wide receiver, and here's what he had to say.
It's hard to come down here and play, and I can see why teams always come down here and struggle, but these are great fans, and you have to appreciate the crowd.
Hey, talk about Jason White. What a performance from your Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, huh?
Jason White, he stood in there and he stood strong and he threw the ball well today. He makes plays, he makes big plays all the time, and he just came out and performed well again today.
Brandon, thanks a lot. Congratulations.
Brandon Jones, Oklahoma 42, Texas A&M 35. Another nail-biter for the Sooners, but yet another win. Oklahoma is now 9-0 on the season. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will look at the final stats. Again, we'll also hear from Bob Stoops, Brent Venables, and selected Sooner players. Keep it right here on your home for college football, KOCO. Welcome back to College Station, Texas. The Oklahoma Sooners beat the Texas A&M Aggies 42-35 today in another just great ball game. Here, the Sooners win last week at Oklahoma State 38-35 and 42-35 today. Ironic that it's 77 combined points that were scored today. Same as last year, 77 points in Norman when the Sooners won 77-0. But
you know, Mark, Coach Switzer was in the press box today. He said there will be 77 points scored in this game. It's just not all going to be by one team. He called it. So we got to give Coach Switzer some credit there. He called it.
That is impressive, calling his shots. Let's take a look now at the statistics from the contest today. First, we will look at team numbers for both the Sooners and the Aggies. Oklahoma ran it effectively, but A&M threw it effectively. And you combine a couple of trick plays in there, a fake field goal and a fake punt, A&M gets to 361 through the air.
Well, Mark, though, the thing that really turned around for Texas A&M was those turnovers. Even though, you know, they were leading the country coming in, nobody had turned it over less than Texas A&M. They come in, cough it up 3 times in a matter of 3 minutes to start off the second half, and that's really when the momentum swung in the favor of Oklahoma, and they just took it from there.
A&M, the turnover bug bit them last week at Baylor in the second half. Reggie McNeil with a couple of crucial turnovers. So you're right, they've been so good all year, but that definitely cost him. And I think momentum-wise, a huge play was coming out of the locker room at halftime. The Aggie crowd had a chance to, you know, get through some refreshments at halftime and kind of settle back in. And Oklahoma comes up with the recovery. Tony Cade recovers the kickoff in the second half, gives Oklahoma the short field. They go right in and tie up the contest. And that, I think, gave Oklahoma a lot more confidence, a lot of momentum. And then when the defense started forcing turnovers in the third quarter, Chris, they really relaxed on the sideline, looked like they were having a lot more fun. And this Oklahoma team plays so much better when they're loose.
I agree completely with you, Mark. They did. They relaxed and felt like, okay, now we're in a position that we've been before. We know how to play here. Here's the interception you see by Dante Nicholson in the second half, one of the big turnovers for Oklahoma. They settled in, and the crowd was taken out of it there for a short amount of time. They got back in it late in the game, but you're right, Mark. They were fired up to start the second half, and then when you fumble the opening kickoff, it kind of deflated that crowd a little bit and let Oklahoma gain just a little bit of momentum.
The Sooners had a big third down conversion, as loud as I have heard it anywhere this year on the sidelines. Kyle Field, just as loud as it's been anywhere this year. And Oklahoma was able to silence that crowd, and then the Jason White to Mark Bradley touchdown to the final margin of victory, 42-35, on another sensational play by Mark Bradley. You know, you come up with statistics, once every 4.25 times he touches the football, he scores a touchdown.
Playmakers, basically what you're saying. This guy is dangerous. He's lightning in a bottle. When he catches the ball, he makes things happen. He had a little trouble working his way into the wide receiver rotation for Oklahoma. This guy's got to be on the field, and the coaches have recognized that. He's the kind of guy that can change games for you, and he did it again today with a big touchdown catch.
All right, let's take a look now at the quarterback numbers. And A&M goes with a couple of quarterbacks today. Reggie McNeil's shoulder injury kept him from the contest, and you enter Texas A&M's backup Ty Brandon, who did a great job this afternoon trying to lead him back. Jason White, great numbers, Chris.
Yeah, 291 yards, Mark, 5 touchdowns, big-time game. He just has been getting better and better as the season has gone on, and today, I said it earlier, I think it was easily his best game of the year, and he's what leadership skills the guy has. Not only can he fling the football around, but his leadership skills are unmatched in the Big 12.
Reggie McNeil has 214 yards passing and 1 interception, and Jacob Young, the A&M punter, might make a bid for quarterback this week in practice if A&M is unable to get Reggie McNeil back. He threw 1 pass and it went 71 yards for a touchdown, and A&M got those trick plays. We knew that would happen. Dennis Francione is a great coach when it comes to scheming for one game, and he had some wrinkles in there. The fake punt, a gutsy call on a 4th down and 1 from way deep in their own territory, and it's just kind of bad luck for Oklahoma as they were unable to make tackles, and then A&M again, and I got to give credit to Francione. This is a touchdown scoring game, not many field goals. It wasn't going to do them any good to get 3 points, so they called for the fake on the field goal and get it as well.
What I like about his game plan, Mark, is he went out to win this ball game. He knew that maybe he was outmanned a little bit, and he had to mix it up a little bit to get in the end zone. It worked very well for him with these 2 trick plays, and it almost paid off.
It did almost pay off. Texas A&M, again, they played really well today, but the turnovers in the second half, that span of time, when you talk about coming out of the locker room at halftime until about 6 minutes to go in the third quarter, Oklahoma was able to take control of this contest. Now let's look at some running back numbers. Here they are this afternoon. 103 yards for Adrian Peterson, so it looked like, Chris, early that he was not going to get that over 100 yards, but he came back in the contest, got a 5-yard run after he went to the locker room with his shoulder out of joint, and comes back to extend the streak. Wow.
Well, how much do you think Bob Stoops allowed that to play into him coming back into the ball game? Do you think it was important for this coaching staff to get him over 100 yards again?
I think they'll tell you that they don't want records, and individual records don't mean that much to them, but I think that it's probably Adrian Peterson's call. I think he said, hey, I want to go back in. I feel good enough to go back in, and that's something special that Adrian Peterson has a chance to do, go over 100